Hey there, my wedding planning friends. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Emily Summer. If you're new here, thanks for clicking on my picture. If you like what you see, please subscribe for weekly wedding planning tips and tricks. Today we are talking about how to find your perfect wedding venue. So first off, a lot of people don't even know what to expect when it comes to finding your wedding venue, which is completely understandable. And price-wise, on average, couples spend about 10 to 15% of their overall wedding budget on their wedding venue. Now, obviously, this varies a ton depending on your location, what part of the country you're at, or what part of the world you're at, and also a lot of venues vary in what they offer. So some venues might come with just the structure and the location. Maybe it's a beautiful spot, but other venues will have tables, chairs, other things that are included. Before you even start looking for your wedding venue, there are some things that you need to make sure that you've discussed and sort of figured out that's gonna really help you when making this decision. So first of all, make sure that you've communicated sort of what you're looking for and what your vision is for your wedding with your partner and with whoever might be helping you, whether that's a parent or a planner. Make sure that they understand your vision for your wedding day and what you're looking for before you even start searching venues. That brings me to my second point. Talk to your planner. If you have a wedding planner or even a day of coordinator, they are so helpful in, even if for nothing else, just vendor recommendations. So a large part of our job is recommending certain vendors that we work with on a regular basis, or just people that we know are going to deliver what you're looking for and your particular needs and desires for your wedding day. So that's a good place to start, is talking to your planner about what you're looking for in a venue. Maybe that's the location, maybe that's the style of the venue, maybe that's sort of the overall vibe. You want a barn in the country, or maybe you want a nice, elegant, more upscale style location, or maybe you want something that has a beachfront or a waterfront of some kind. They'll help to be able to give you some suggestions before you even have to start just Googling frantically. The third thing that you need to know before you start looking for venues is your guest list. Please have at least a good idea of the amount of people that you're going to have on your guest list. You need to make sure that you have as close to an estimate of your guest list as possible. Granted, this is going to change by the time you actually get your invitations out, but the amount of people that you are even inviting, you should know. Wedding venues vary on their capacity, and you'd hate to fall in love with a wedding venue that maxes out at 200 people, and once you start getting your RSVPs back with their plus ones and everything, you find yourself sitting at 250 guests, and then what? So please have an idea of how many guests you plan to invite on your list before you even start searching for a venue. So now we're ready to start looking for your venue. So there's three main things that you're gonna look for that, in my opinion, are sort of the three main deciding factors in a venue. One, the price. Obviously, you want to make sure it's within your budget. Two, the guest capacity, like we just talked about. Obviously, that's going to be a deal breaker if you fall in love with a venue and it's way over, or your guest count is way over their capacity. I mean, if it's something that is a deal breaker to where you love this wedding venue, maybe that's going back and crossing off some names off your list. I know this can be really tricky, but that could be the price you have to pay in order to have that wedding venue. The third thing is the location. Now, this could be the location as far as the actual setting the venue is in, and maybe you want the mountain views or a river view or whatever that may be. But this is also the location in relation to maybe where you live or where a lot of your guests will be traveling from, and we'll get into that some more. So to even start the process, there's three places that are really helpful. One, Google. It's probably pretty self-explanatory. Type in wedding venues that you're looking for, use some keywords, maybe barn wedding venues in, for example, Missoula, Montana, or wherever you might live. Another great resource is The Knot. A lot of wedding venues use that platform to advertise their venue, but also be able to reach other couples that are looking for that particular style of venue. So that's a good place to look, is on The Knot. They usually have a venue directory or a vendor directory. Same thing with Wedding Wire. So that's a good place to start. So once you have started kind of looking through and seeing what's out there and what's in your area, I'm a big list maker, so whether you are or not, it's probably a good idea to make a list of the ones that stood out to you that you can see just based on your quick internet search that they match all your criteria. So it's in the location that you want it to be in, the price range that you want to stay in, and hopefully you'll be able to tell from their listings that they have the right guest capacity for you. So once you have your list of your top, this is when you obviously want to start scheduling tours, because it's really, really hard to picture your venue without actually being there in person. I know a lot of people do it. I have many clients that are destination clients that have never even been to Montana before and come here and get married, and in that case I usually try and go and do like a little FaceTime tour or something so they can see some sort of virtual idea of what their venue is going to look like in the setting and everything. And that's something you can even talk to the venue owners about. A lot of times they are willing to do a FaceTime call with you personally if you can't physically make it to actually tour the venue so that you can see. It's just really hard to tell from photos what the place is really going to look like, how big it is. Sometimes pictures can be deceiving, and then just really get a feel for this space. I think it's really important to be able to actually physically see your venue before you book it. Or maybe have a proxy go for you if you have a friend or a family member that is closer to the area that can go take a look at it for you. That's really helpful as well. So once you start actually visiting these venues and touring them, you're probably going to knock things off your list right then and cross things off that aren't quite doing it for you once you physically get to see the space. So once you've started actually touring the venues that meet your needs and check off the items on your list so far, you want to try and narrow it down the best you can to maybe like a top 3. Top 5 if you have to, if you're looking at a lot of venues. But I would say top 3 is going to make your life a lot easier. And then from there, there's some certain things that you maybe haven't thought about that's going to help you make this decision even easier. So once you've gotten your top 3, analyze each venue based on these criteria. So consider your guest's experience. Are you going to have a lot of guests that are traveling from out of state or out of town to your wedding day? Think about things like, is this venue close to town where my guests will be able to travel easily? Will they need to rent a car to get to my wedding venue? Will I be able to provide transportation if not? Are there activities that are nearby? If they're traveling, most likely if they're going to be making a weekend out of it or staying a few days, it's nice to be able to offer some other activities close by that can keep their time occupied, rather than having a venue that is really beautiful but maybe it's 20 miles out of town or out from the closest hotel. So those are things to think about on the guest end. Also, maybe is it something that really showcases the area if it's the first time, or especially if you're a destination client. I've had clients that will pick the venue solely based on the experience they want for their guests. So a lot of times it's their first time in Montana. They don't even know what to expect. They want to make sure that they're just like hit with the gorgeous mountain views that we have, and also make sure that it's nearby to local hotels so that they can stay there, and a lot of the hotels will offer shuttle services wherever they need to go from there. So those are things that you need to look in relation to the location of your wedding venue. The other thing that you should analyze between your top 3 is consider what's included. So like I mentioned earlier, some wedding venues are simply the structure, you rent the space and then you bring everything in. And so then you have to think about, okay, so what are my additional costs going to be then? You're going to have to bring in tables, you're going to have to bring in You're going to have to bring in tables, you're going to have to bring in chairs, you'll have to rent linens, all of those certain things for a space that doesn't have those. And maybe if one of your venues on your top 3 is a little bit pricier, but it does include tables and chairs or anything else, those are the things you want to really get down to and analyze and see really what's going to be best for your situation. Granted, anything that's more all-inclusive is going to be a higher ticket price, but when you consider all of the rental costs plus delivery fees and security deposits and all that stuff you'll have to add on to bringing everything in, a lot of times it is more cost efficient to just go with the higher priced venue that's including more. Your wedding venue is probably the biggest decision you'll be making when it comes to planning your wedding, because it's going to set the tone for your whole wedding day and your whole wedding experience. This is why it should also be one of the very first things that you accomplish on your wedding planning checklist. Venues also tend to book out pretty far in advance. I would say at least a year. A lot of venues, popular venues at least, are booked out a year in advance. So definitely make sure this is one of the items that you tackle right away as soon as you're ready to start your planning. Hopefully you found this helpful. If you did, please let me know. Comment below if you follow any of these steps when finding your venue, or if there's anything else that you found was particularly helpful on your wedding venue hunt. Make sure to like and subscribe for weekly wedding planning videos, and we'll see you next week.